and you had to go up there, and they only like the headliner, the MC, and the feature always bombed. And I'll never forget being in bumper-to-bumper traffic and looking over to my left, and it was Joe Rogan. He had a Supra at the time, and he opened up his window, and he goes, "Where you headed?" And I go, "I'm going to Orange County to do a fucking gig, whatever, someplace." And he goes, "You're not going to be at the store tonight?" And I go, "Nah." And he goes, "You work in other places?" I go, "Yeah." And he was like, "Wow." Like, he didn't really understand. And then one night I'm at the store on a Friday night, and I'm bombing. I'm dying a slow death. At that time, I was going through a control issue. I want to learn how to control the audience. This is all that stupid white shit you bump into out here in your mind. It's just stand up. Just shut your fucking mouth.
Right.
Don't think. Just shut your mouth. This was the time in my life when I got into, you have to take long pauses to control them. And I went up there on a Friday night at the store, dog, and I bombed from the beginning. It was just a long bomb. And I'll never forget, at the 11-minute mark, I said to myself, this is killing me. And Joe Rogan yelled, "You're killing me." And I knew it was his voice distinctly. And I didn't know how to react to it. Like, when I get off stage, do I say something to this guy? Blah, blah, blah. And I go, you know what? He ain't lying. He ain't lying. I'm dying up here. This is a nightmare. And I walked off, and I saw him a week later, and I went up to him, and I go, "Hey, man, that night you said that. You're right." You know, I was like, he goes, "Bro, that was brutal." That's something. And after that, I said to him, "What show are you on?" And he told me. And he was like so courteous. He goes, "If you want, come watch a taping." And I was like, "Really?" In those days, I used to go to, our hobbies were to go to Politically Incorrect when it taped on Wilshire. Me, Stanhope, Mitch Hedberg, we'd all go down there.
Oh,
there was
wow.
a bunch of us. In those days, they used to tape Politically Incorrect at like 2:30 in the afternoon. So if you weren't doing anything, KP Anderson was the warm-up. So you could call KP and go,
"Wow,
KP, I'm coming down, put me on a list." And you go into the audience, and then they would send you around a sheet of paper, comics, or people you wanted to see on Politically Incorrect. And we knew that Bill Maher hated Stanhope.
Oh, why?
So we would all put Stanhope on there and send it in and shit. This was just something you did to learn. Like, this is how cool it was then.
Yeah.
Like, you want to go see a show taping to learn. Like, you have to go to a show taping. And I went to News Radio, and the first time I sat in the audience. And Joe came over like a gentleman, and he goes, "Is everything okay?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "If Captain Creepy bothers you, let me know." Captain Creepy was the fucking warm-up guy. And in Joe's mind, Joe didn't smoke pot then, but in Joe's mind, the guy was a rapist. So Joe would actually fucking say it. Like, when I first met Joe, he did not smoke pot.
I remember.
He was by the book.
He was anti-pot, right?
He was anti-pot, and he was by the fucking book. And I'll never forget him coming up to me, and he had no manners. Like, he was very fucking, like, he would tell you.
Blunt. He's Boston, right?
Very, very blunt. And I'll never forget that he came up and he goes, "Are you having a good time?" "Yeah." And I went to one of the show tapings, but he came up and he goes, the guy was with Diaz. And he goes, "Don't let Captain Creepy fuck with you." And then that night I go, "What do you call him, Captain Creepy?" And he goes, "That guy's definitely date rape people." And if you looked at this guy, he looked like a date raper. Like, you didn't want to judge, but when you looked at the guy, you're like, this guy raped somebody. He was so creepy. Like, this guy was a professional warm-up guy that was just, like, out there. Like, you knew, when he would flirt with women and he would try to get them up. Like, and he would disappear with some of them. So they were, and you had Andy Dick on the set.
Oh my God.
So Andy Dick would come up to you and talk to you. So then I became friends with him, and he would invite me to the show, and they would put me on the floor. And I'll never forget that they had a thing for people, and then they had a box for NBC, and they had shrimp cocktails, prawns, the size of my fucking gorilla hand.
I love those.
On the side of a thing, like 200 shrimp. And I walked in there, and I just started eating shrimp. And finally, somebody went up to Joe and said, "Who's that scary guy in the NBC room eating shrimp?" And Joe came over there like, "Oh, my God, you're scaring everybody here with your leather jacket," because I had this big gorilla leather jacket on. But that's how we became friends from that.
That's awesome.
From that thing. And then I was working Miami. And
How'd you do in Miami?
At that time, I used to do great. And he called me. And he goes, where are you? And I go, I'm in Miami. He goes, fuck, I'll be there next week. And I go, I could stay. And I stayed, and Chris McGuire opened for him at the time. I just exchanged calls with Chris the other day.
Chris is wonderful.
Chris is wonderful. And I stayed and MC'd for him. And that's how I got to meet him more and more and more. And then over the years, at the store, you just built these store bonds that you see, the bond of a comic when we really love each other is just one of the strong, it's a gang. Like I got into this to be in a gang. And I've never wanted to be in a gang in my life. I got into this to be in a gang. I was very disappointed when the Joe Rogan thing went down at the Comedy Store and the people didn't back him. That's when I started losing faith in comics. I didn't like that. That turned me off about comics. I don't feel that way anymore. It's a long time ago. But I didn't like that situation because it felt like comics were for themselves.
Someone made the wrong call on that one.
Right. That was
a bad move.
We get a lot of bad moves. And, I'm happy that he's back there. I'm back there.
Oh, it's changed the place.
I didn't get thrown out. I walked out of there on my own accord. I just knew that the government was changing. I knew that I had already... I had been there for 6 years. No, 97. It was 2007. I'd been there for 10 years. If this was Michigan, I would be out. If this was Illinois, I would be out. If this was Boston, the club owner would go, Joey, you got to do something. You're featuring, there's nowhere to go. How much farther can you go? So I left the store before Joe got thrown out. I saw the writing on the wall. I saw the dickhead coming in with his new attitude and his new regime, and I was hearing little things. And I said, you know what? I'm the type of guy that I'll end up getting into a fight down there and hitting him on the head or something, and I'll end up going to jail. I'm just going to stop going down there.
It was a dark time. I'm very thankful for it there, but it was a dark time, and I'm glad that Joe went back. And that has been the resurgence of that place, and now it's just this cooking with gas. Yeah. I look at you and I look at Joe and I look at a lot of people. Sometimes you have to leave the store. You have to leave.
One of the most important things in life is making sure nobody asks you to leave. We're going in like fucking Marines, you understand me?
Welcome to church, motherfucker.